Hi, I'm Bob from pvcpipeprojects.co.uk, and in this video we're going to have a look at how to glue your fittings together. Now it's important to note here, when you glue your fittings together to your pipe, once you've glued it together, that's a permanent joint. Okay, you're not going to get that apart again. So be pretty sure that everything's cut to size, everything's how you want it, and that also you want it as a permanent fitting. Our display grade furniture pipe fittings and pipe are pretty strong when they're just pushed together dry. So for most structures, pushing together dry is going to be okay, or you can use a little plastic rivet through, and we've got another video to show how to use that. And if you use a plastic rivet, you can take it out and you can take it apart again. But for some applications you really want it to be permanent, you want to make sure it's as strong as possible, in which case we're looking at gluing it. Gluing is a pretty messy process, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put some gloves on. Make sure they're not PVC gloves, because if so the glue is going to melt onto the PVC and you're going to end up with a real sticky mess of your gloves sticking to the pipe and sticking to the fitting, and everything will get stuck together. If you get it on your hands, if you get the glue on your hands, it's not the end of the world. It'll stay there for a little while. It's quite hard to get off once it's dried on your hands. It is fairly aggressive, it'll dry your hands out. Might need to use a bit of moisturiser or something afterwards once you've peeled it off. Other thing to do, again, it's a messy process. So I've got some paper which I'll put down here. You can put a couple of pieces of newspaper or a piece of cardboard or something like that, and it just keeps all the mess in the one place. So we've got our pipe and we've got our socket. So as usual, the pipe fits inside the socket. Now, if I was fitting pipe work for a plumbing system or something like that, I'd want to make sure that as well as getting a good mechanical seal, so the fitting's not going to move around the pipe or the fitting's not going to come off, I'd also be really concerned to make sure that there's a complete seal around here so that none of the water that's flowing through the pipe is going to come out. When we're making structures, that's not so important at all. All we want to get is a mechanical fitting. We're not really bothered if there's a tiny air bubble inside, which if we put water through it, we'd end up with water coming out it. So for that reason, we're only going to put glue on the socket part. If we were gluing plumbing pipe work together, we'd put it on the socket and on the pipe and we push it together. But that sometimes gives us a bit of a messy joint around the outside here, which we don't want, because we want our structure to look really nice and really smart. So we're just going to put glue on the inside of the socket. The other thing, if we were building for plumbing, is we'd use a cleaner on the inside of the fitting and the inside of the pipe, again because we're really concerned with making sure we do get that 100% seal. But because we're just going for that mechanical strength, we're not going to bother using cleaner, we're just going to use the glue. First thing we need to do is to chamfer down the very end of the pipe. If it's really sharp on the end where it's been cut, when we push that into the fitting, what that's going to do is it's going to push all the glue in front of it, and we're going to end up with no glue between the pipe and the socket edge itself. So we chamfer it down. We can do that using a file if we want, just a fairly fine file. The other thing you can use is a paint scraper, and you can just scrape around on the outside. Again, be careful we don't go down the pipe too much, because if we go down the pipe too much, that's going to affect the look of our piece of kit once we've assembled it all. So there you go, we've got a nice soft edge, is the best way to describe it maybe, a nice soft edge just around the end of the pipe there. And that's going to help the glue guide up into the actual joint rather than pushing it in front of it like a knife edge. Here's our little tin of glue. It's just regular plumbing glue for PVC pipe. Important choice is the size of your brush as well. You want to have a brush that's no more than half the size of the pipework. Here's one, this is a 1/2 inch brush. Here's one, as you can see, it's about half the size of the socket. That's actually quite hard to get in and get it all neat, and you're likely to end up with glue all over the outside. And so that's the maximum size of brush which you want to use, is one that's half the size of the socket. Even as I'm pushing it in there, you can see there are some of the hairs on the brush are coming over the outside, and that's going to make for a messy joint. So use a smaller brush, take your time doing it, and then so we get our glue. Some glues come with a big brush like this inside, which is absolutely useless for our purposes. So get some glue on the brush, don't get too much on there, give it a paint inside, make sure we go all the way round. Now I'm only painting about 3/4 of the joint here, and I'm painting it trying to avoid the very end. And then make sure we get the right end of our pipe, the chamfered end, and we can give that a good push in. Okay. Now when you push these fittings together dry, you have to use a mallet sometimes to get them in dry and to get them pushed right to the end. Once there's a bit of glue on there, that acts like a bit of lubricant and they slide in nicely, and you should feel it stop at the end of the pipe. You've got about 15-20 seconds, if that, to turn the pipe if you want. If it's slightly wrong, you can turn it slightly as you go in, but really now that's a permanent joint there. That's not going to, I'm going to try and get that apart, and that's not coming apart at all. So that's our permanent joint done. If you put too much glue inside, what's going to happen is as that pipe goes in, the glue is going to run down this side of the other part of the joint, and once that sets, that then creates a problem for getting a nice smooth entry for your other piece of pipe going in, because you've got a lump of set glue inside there. So the important thing is keep it neat, use just a bit of glue. As you can see, doing that, we've got no glue around the outside of the joint here at all. So we've got a nice permanent joint, nice neat joint where you can't see anything at all, and that's going to last you years and years without moving. Thanks for watching. Bye.